Today, we're on Reddit. We're specifically on the subreddit for real estate advice.
Can my neighbors sue my parents and force them to sell? Long story short, my parents are the poorest on the block. It's obvious. When I say it's obvious, I don't mean trashy and all of that. I just mean some paint for the last 10 years, otherwise well-maintained yard, appearance, and tradesman trucks in the driveway. They've been on the block for 25 years, and 5 years ago, a new neighbor moved in behind them. She is a Karen. She has done nothing but complain for the last 5 years, and it could be about the littlest things. Kids on the trampoline being too loud, or called the city because we had too many trucks at our house.
I live behind a Karen. There's a Karen who lives behind me.
I don't even know what a Karen even is.
Yeah.
I have a friend named Karen.
Why don't you come over and I'll introduce you to my neighbor. You'll know immediately because she's going to complain about everything.
So Karen's a complainer?
She's going to complain about the shirt you're wearing, where we're standing, where her yard ends and everybody else's begins.
Can you imagine how bad it would suck if your name was Karen these days?
Oh, I know a lot of good Karens. Their name's been ruined.
Yeah, that's too bad. We're not horrible neighbors. We mind our own business, stick to ourselves, and whenever she has her odd request, we are cordial and do as she asks. She's very passive-aggressive and even threatened to sue us for not painting over a wall that the grandkids have painted in the backyard. It faces her yard and devalues her property. Well, today she hosted a neighborhood meeting and my parents were not included, but from the butts and pieces, I think she meant bits and pieces, but from the bits and pieces they made the assumption that she's getting all the neighbors to go in on suing them because they have the ugliest house in the block.
Imagine getting sued for having an ugly house.
I mean, you can get sued for just about anything these days, can't you?
Yeah.
It's not an HOA. It's literally the ghetto of North Portland.
The ghetto of North Portland probably costs 100 times the price of what it costs to live here in the Midwest.
Probably. I hate to pull the race card, but I feel like her and all the neighbors who are white are just picking on the minority here. So, can they sue my parents for that? And what's the worst that could happen if they do? Can they literally sue us into selling? No. They cannot sue you into selling.
I don't know. This is Portland we're talking about. I mean,
it's a little bit different than it is here in Indianapolis.
I'm pretty sure you could just take over a block and then you own it if you just take it over. The police don't come.
They can't force you into selling the house. The only thing that could happen is if you are breaking, some sort of law or ordinance, you can get fined. And if you don't pay those fines can get levied against your house. And then, your house could be taken over if those fines, in a drastic situation. You'd have to have fines for many years before you would lose the house. But no, they can't sue. And I shouldn't say they can't sue. They can sue. I can sue Scott for breaking the windows in my truck, and my windows are just fine in my truck.
If you do, I'm gonna break the windows in your truck.
Well, I wouldn't put it past you anyway.
Well, if you sue me for doing it, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
So,
but it sounds like you just got some sucky neighbors. And if they were to sue and that was to go before a judge, this would be something that would be dismissed really quickly. It would not see the light of really any court case. I do think it's kind of interesting that you did say, long story short, my parents are the poorest on the block. It's obvious. I don't know. My heart kind of goes out to in that situation.
Well, I was going to.
It sounds like hey, they're homeowners, and that's a huge step above a lot of other people. So don't count your parents short.
And you're gonna see this a lot in places where real estate's becoming more and more expensive, where somebody who's been in a neighborhood for 25 years probably makes the least amount of income as rich people move into an area and gentrify it and all of those things. So this isn't just a you problem. This is happening in other places across the U.S. where the new fancy rich people move into the neighborhood you've lived in for 25 years and then start crapping all over you. Stand up for yourself. Get a restraining order.
Well, speaking of crapping all over you, my advice would be to get a brown paper bag and take a dump in it, and then go over and light that bag on fire on the neighbor that's complaining a lot on their doorstep and ring their doorbell.
And run. Or don't run. Get the camera ready.